for room 1.
I need your attention, Earthbound. I am Slip, the Hawkkin, and I have decided to help you enter the crashed airship. The evil gnome who previously owned that Zeppelin may have stolen a relic from my people, and I'm here to recover it. I've heard that you're also looking for information inside the airship's hull. It would be wise for us to work together. Let us proceed with haste to discover how to open the door to the pilot house.
Yes.
What's going on?
We have the Zephyr. The door is locked by the computer, and the party has to come in and figure out how to link some fuel cells together, because that will fry the circuits and allow the door to open so that they can enter the airship.
Okay.
So it's a puzzle with big tiles that they have to arrange and have these lines connect color to color.
Okay. Is there a trick to the puzzle, or is it just finding the...
No trick. It's basically just linking, following the lines, linking. They go back and forth, up and down. So it's a little chaotic, but they just make normal paths, no trick.
Room 2.
Room 2 has been a tough one. That's the infuser. They have to infuse fuel pellets with different types of energy. Shock, fire, sonic, and cold. And they have to use a machine to send fuel pellets between different columns that will give the fuel pellets the right combinations of energy. And there are tubes that have different lengths. So some of the columns can't be connected in certain combinations. So you have to figure out exactly how to use the tubes to connect the columns so that the fuel pellet will actually travel from one column to the next one.
Okay, does the height at which you plug it in make any difference?
Some of the it makes it easier to move it from, some of them are dead ends, but if you put it up high, it'll make it easier for the ball to, for gravity to help the fuel pellet move from column to column.
Is it a different column combination for each of the elements?
There are basically 3 recipes. The first recipe can be solved a lot of different ways. Then the next 2, there's a certain combination of columns that are used. And we've actually eased it up a little bit so that on normal runs, they only have to do the first recipe and one of the other 2. Hardcore and Nightmare have to do all 3 recipes.
Room 3.
Room 3 is our first combat room. And our Hawkkin, which is an NPC and a DM that's actually been traveling with the party from the training room all the way to room 3. They get into room 3, but then she is attacked by a windwalker, and she is sucked out of the Zeppelin, out of the Zephyr, and then a combat DM comes in, and the party has to fight a windwalker so that they can continue the adventure. Room 4 is the first time there is a split. Room 4 puzzle is there's a monodrone that I think it is the stabilizer room, and there's a monodrone from an outer plane that they have to figure. It moves within a force field, and they have to place different shapes on different gears on a table, which affects how the monodrone moves. And by putting the shapes in the right place, they will force the monodrone to roll into the center area, into its position, so that it can be used for stabilization.
Is there any combination of putting the items on the pattern?
They are supposed to be put down in a particular way, and some of the shapes have to go on particular gears. Combat side, there is another monodrone, but this time, and it's still a stabilizer room, but this time they have to fight it. But this monodrone has force fields protecting it. So first they have to destroy the force fields, and then they're able to attack the monodrone itself.
Okay. And is that the force fields are on a combat board? Or?
They are on a combat board. There are lines on a combat board. They actually have to slide the token onto the line to hit the force field. Room 5 is another difference in combat. There is a mecha droid. The mecha droid has to be activated for the Zeppelin to fly, but when he's activated, he attacks any unauthorized personnel. So when he's activated, he attacks the party. So they have to fight him and defeat him.
Okay.
Fairly straightforward combat. On the puzzle side, there is a very complicated puzzle with very many switches and lights. You have to throw the switches in certain combinations to get an inner circle of lights to light up. And if you can do that, then a giant sphere, a giant orb on top of the table will begin to glow. But you have to figure out the correct combination of switches to get that to happen.
Okay, is there any pattern to the switches, or is it just random?
Not that anyone has been able to tell me, but so far people have been solving it through brute force. Room 6 is the inflation room. They have to inflate the baffles of the ship on both sides. It's the same puzzle. When they throw a switch, it activates an inflation machine, i.e. a vacuum, where air is going to be forced out, but they have to connect that air to an outtake valve. So they get these short pieces of tube about 1.5 feet long, and that they can connect different ports, different holes, so that the air will move from hole to hole, from vent to vent, until it reaches the final one. And if they're able to successfully connect it to the final one, it will supposedly inflate the baffles of the ship so that it can take off.
Is there any pattern to the...
There is, well, not a pattern per se, but the holes all connect in certain ways. So you just have to follow the air. You have to have the party surround it so that they can say, okay, here it's coming out here, we can make this connection. Okay, now it's coming out here, we can make this connection.
Are there dead ends?
Yes. Room 7 again is a combat room. It's the same on both sides, but this is a little bit different. This time they're flying the ship and they're not being attacked. The ship is being attacked by a swarm of wyverns, or wyverns, depending on how you pronounce it. And they have to have some people fight off the wyverns with ranged weapons because they're flying. And some of the party is going to be manning machines. They have to do different tests. There's going to be a machine that controls the helm, and they have to keep the ship on a certain heading. There's the shields, where they're going to study a diagram of the ship and then have to identify different parts of the ship to give them a bonus to the ship's armor class. And then there is a Liftonium infuser, which they actually use a bellows and a feather, and they have to blow air into one hole, and it's going to come out of a different hole, and each hole represents a different type of energy. So the DM will go up and say, all right, show me the sonic, or actually they blow air into the blank one, and it's supposed to come out of the correct sonic hole. So that's what the feather is for, to show that the air is coming out of the proper hole.
And if they keep the ship stable, what's the effect from that?
That's the helm test. There are 2 controls, and they have to keep the needle kind of like you would see on a plane. They have to keep the needle out of the red areas. If it goes into red, you're in danger. But the 2 controls are very sensitive, and they interact with each other. So as you're doing it, you have to try to make sure that both needles stay in the safe zone and neither of them get in, and they have to do that for 10 seconds.
And what's the benefit if they do?
If they do that, they get a bonus to their to hit. The player sliding it a to hit bonus.
And with the feather and
the infusion, with that one, if they are successful, it'll cancel one of the wyvern's hits. So it'll cancel the damage from one of the wyvern's attacks.
Okay. And then, of course, the point is to kill the wyverns before...
If they do enough damage to the swarm, then they are successful. If they don't by the end of the room, they crash. And it's a little bit different because since it's a swarm of wyverns, a lot of effects that people are used to, like hold, sleep, things like that, aren't going to affect a swarm. They'll affect one wyvern, but the swarm is going to continue to attack the ship. So those effects are kind of, ineffective.